You are going to make more financial decisions in the next 3 years than most people make in a decade. First job, first salary, first investment, first big purchase, and nobody, not your school, not your parents, not the internet, has actually prepared you for any of it. But here's the thing that scares me about that. It is not that you will make the wrong decision. It is that you will make the wrong decision and think it was the right one, and then make it again and again, until one day you are 35 wondering why nothing is working, not realizing the problem started at 18. There's a book that explains exactly why this happens. Not with complicated formulas, but with something far more uncomfortable. The truth about how your brain actually works with money. It is called The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, and I am going to break down every lesson in it, but filtered specifically for where you are right now, because this book was written for adults, but the people who need it most are 18. Before we get into the lessons, I need to tell you about two people. The first is Ronald Reed. He was a janitor his entire working life. He pumped gas. He cleaned floors. He drove a beat-up used car and wore a second-hand coat held together with a safety pin. His own family had no idea what he was doing with his money. When he died in 2014, the town assumed he would leave almost nothing behind. He left $8 million to his local library and hospital. The second person is Richard Foscone, Harvard MBA, senior executive at Merrill Lynch, one of the most powerful banks on Wall Street. Made so much money he retired in his 40s. He borrowed heavily to expand his mansion and lifestyle. When the 2008 financial crisis hit, he could not make his payments. He filed for bankruptcy. A janitor beat a Harvard MBA. Not because the janitor was smarter, not because he got lucky, because he understood something Richard Foscone never did, that how you behave with money matters more than how much you know about it. That is the entire book. That is every lesson. And now let me show you what it actually means for your life right now. Lesson 1. No one is crazy, but everyone is biased. Here is something that sounds obvious until you really think about it. Every financial decision you have ever made felt completely rational to you in the moment, and every terrible financial decision you have ever watched someone else make felt completely rational to them too. The person who blows their salary on designer clothes is not an idiot. They grew up watching people get respect for looking wealthy, and their brain connected money with status, not security. The person who refuses to invest anything and keeps it all in cash is not paranoid. They probably watched someone they love get destroyed in a market crash and made a decision they would never let that happen to them. Morgan Housel's point is this. We all experience the world differently, and those different experiences create completely different financial instincts. Someone who grew up comfortable has a completely different relationship with risk than someone who grew up struggling. Someone who invested for the first time in 2020 has a completely different understanding of markets than someone who started in 2008. Neither is more correct. They are just shaped by different events. And here is the specific warning for you at 18. Your data set is tiny. You have not lived through a real recession yet. You have not felt real financial pain yet, which means your brain is probably far more confident than it should be. Not because you are arrogant, because you have not been tested, and the market is very patient. It will wait until you are confident, and then it will test you. Lesson 2. Luck is invisible, and that makes it lethal. In 1968, Bill Gates attended one of the only high schools in the entire world that had a computer available for students. One school in the whole world. He was born in the right place, at the right time, to the right family to attend that school, and because of that single accident of birth, he got thousands of hours of computer experience before almost anyone else on the planet. Morgan Housel is not saying Bill Gates is not brilliant. He clearly is, but he is saying that brilliance alone does not explain everything. Luck got him in the room. Skill took over from there. Now here is where it gets uncomfortable for you. If you have made money investing recently, even a little bit, you need to ask yourself an honest question. How much of that was skill and how much was the market just going up? Because in a bull market, almost everything goes up, and your brain will take credit for all of it. This is exactly what happened to millions of new investors in 2020 and 2021. Money was essentially free. Interest rates were at zero. Everything was going up. People were making 40, 50, 100% returns on random stocks and thinking they had figured out something professional investors had missed. They started taking bigger risks. They started borrowing money to invest. They started making videos about their strategy. And then 2022 arrived. Same people, same strategy, different environment. The market dropped and it exposed every single person who had confused luck with skill. The lesson is not to avoid taking credit for your wins. The lesson is to always ask what role the environment played. Because if your strategy only works in a specific type of market, it is not actually a strategy. It is just timing. Lesson 3. Compounding is boring, and that is exactly why most people miss it. I am going to show you the most important numbers in this entire video. If you invest 150 euros a month starting right now at 18, with an average return of 8% per year, by the time you are 65, you'll have approximately 900,000 euros. If you wait until you are 28 to start, same amount every month, same return, same discipline, you will have approximately 380,000 euros. 10 years of delay cost you over €500,000. Not because you made bad investments, not because you picked wrong stocks, just because you waited 10 years. That is compounding, and the reason most people miss it is because it is invisible for the first decade. You invest for a year and barely notice a difference. You invest for 5 years and it feels slow. You invest for 10 years and something starts to shift. And then around year 20 or 25, it starts to feel genuinely surreal because the numbers stop growing linearly, they start growing exponentially. Warren Buffett started investing at 10 years old. His net worth is over $100 billion. 97 billion of that, 97% came after his 65th birthday. His secret is not that he is the greatest investor alive. His secret is that he has been a great investor since he was a child. He gave compounding 80 years to work. You are 18, you will never be this young again. Every single month you wait is not just 1 month of growth lost, it is every month of growth on top of that growth on top of that growth. Lost permanently, start, now, small, consistent, that is the whole strategy. Lesson 4, getting wealthy and staying wealthy are two completely different skills. Here's a mistake almost every young person makes. They study how people get rich. They never study how people stay rich, and those are not the same thing. Getting wealthy requires aggression, optimism, risk, putting yourself out there. Staying wealthy requires almost the complete opposite. Paranoia, humility, the quiet acceptance that some of what got you here was luck, and luck can reverse. Morgan Housel describes this as survival. The most important financial skill is not finding the highest returning investment, it is staying in the game long enough for compounding to work, and you cannot stay in the game if you blow up. Which means the biggest financial risk at 18 is not being too conservative. It is being so aggressive that one bad moment takes you out completely. Some practical rules from the book that actually apply to your life right now. Do not invest money you cannot afford to lose. Always keep a cash buffer, even a small one. Never borrow money to invest in volatile assets, and build a plan that assumes things will go wrong, because they will. Not as a pessimistic warning, as a mathematical certainty. Markets crash, jobs disappear, unexpected costs arrive. The people who survive those moments are not smarter than the people who do not. They just had more margin built in. Lesson 5. The goalpost always moves, unless you stop it. This is the one that destroys people quietly over decades. Rajat Gupta grew up in poverty in India. He became CEO of McKinsey, one of the most elite firms on the planet. He built a net worth of over $100 million, and then he committed insider trading to make a few extra million on top of his $100 million. He went to prison. He lost everything. $100 million was not enough, and the reason it was not enough is the exact same reason that 500 euros does not feel like enough once you have it, or 5,000, or 50,000. The goalpost moves. Every time you hit a number, your brain adjusts. The thing that felt like it would be enough suddenly isn't. And people start doing dangerous things in pursuit of a feeling they can never actually catch. Here's what Morgan Housel suggests instead. Define enough before you start, not a number to retire on, just a number that represents security. A number where you could genuinely say, if I never made more than this, I would be okay. And treat that number as sacred, because the people who cannot define enough are the ones who risk everything they built for a feeling they never actually get. Lesson 6. Freedom is the real goal, not the number. Morgan Housel ends the book by describing his own financial life. He and his wife do not try to maximize returns. They do not try to build the biggest possible portfolio. Their goal is independence, to wake up every morning and be able to say, I can do what I want, with who I want, for as long as I want. No boss they hate, no client they have to keep happy, no job they cannot afford to leave, just control over their own time. He argues that this, not a specific number, is the highest dividend money can pay. And here is why this matters specifically at 18. You are in the best possible position to build that kind of freedom. You probably do not have a mortgage yet. You probably do not have dependents. Your fixed costs are lower than they will ever be again, which means every euro you save right now does not just grow faster because of compounding. It costs less to save because you are not sacrificing as much to put it aside. The 50 euros you save at 18 cost you almost nothing. The same 50 euros at 35 might mean skipping something important. Start building the freedom now, not because some finance channel told you to, but because the version of you at 35 will genuinely thank you for it. Lesson 7. Reasonable always beats optimal. Every finance textbook has an optimal portfolio. perfectly diversified, minimum fees, mathematically calibrated for maximum risk-adjusted returns, and then markets drop 35% and the person with the optimal portfolio sells everything at the bottom because they could not emotionally handle watching their money disappear. The optimal strategy becomes worthless the moment you cannot stick to it. Morgan Housel says reasonable beats rational, not the highest returning strategy you can actually maintain when everything feels like it is falling apart. For you right now, that probably means keeping it simple. A broad index fund, a fixed monthly contribution, a rule that you do not check it every day. Not impressive, not complicated, not something to build a brand around, but compounded over 40 years, genuinely life-changing. The boring strategy that you actually stick to beats the exciting strategy that you abandon every single time. Lesson 8, wealth is invisible and that is the trap. You are growing up in a world where everyone's financial life is on display. The designer clothes, the new car, the watch, the holiday photos. And your brain sees all of it and quietly concludes that everyone else has figured out the game and you are the only one who hasn't. Here's what Morgan Housel found when he actually looked at wealthy people. The ones with real wealth almost always looked ordinary. No flashy car, no designer clothes, no posts about their returns. Because genuinely, wealthy people understand something that people who look wealthy do not. Every euro spent on showing wealth is a euro not building it. The guy in the expensive car is not wealthy. He is demonstrating that he was wealthy enough at some point to afford that car. Real wealth is the money you do not spend, the investments nobody sees, the account balance that never gets posted anywhere. Do not compare your financial life to what people perform online. You are measuring your reality against someone else's highlight reel, and performing wealth is one of the most reliable ways to never actually build it. The history part, why your generation actually has an advantage. For most of human history, building wealth was reserved for people who were already wealthy. The middle class as we know it did not exist. You were either rich or you were surviving. The idea of ordinary people investing in diversified portfolios and building real wealth through the stock market is genuinely new. The first index fund available to regular investors launched in 1976. The 401k retirement account was created in 1978. Commission-free trading on your phone became available in the last decade. What this means is that almost every piece of financial wisdom passed down through generations. Keep cash, avoid debt at all costs, trust no one with your money was built for a world that no longer exists. Your grandparents' financial rules were correct for their environment. That environment is gone. You are operating in a completely new financial landscape, one where an 18-year-old with a phone and 50 euros a month can access the same investment vehicles that were available only to institutions 30 years ago. That is not a small thing. That is a genuine structural advantage that most people your age are completely ignoring because they are busy spending money on things that look like wealth instead of building things that actually are. Conclusion: there is a line in this book that I have not been able to stop thinking about since I read it. Morgan Housel writes, "The ability to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, for as long as you want, is the highest dividend money pays. Not a number, not a portfolio size, not a car or a house or a watch, just freedom." And here is the uncomfortable truth about that freedom. It is built slowly, quietly, without anyone watching. The janitor who left $8 million did not have a strategy that looked impressive. He bought things he understood, he never sold them. He lived below what he could afford, and he let time do the rest. You are 18. You have more time than almost any wealthy person had when they started. You do not need to find the next big thing. You do not need to beat anyone. You just need to understand the game you are actually playing. Start now. Stay consistent. Keep it simple. And never, ever let the goalpost move so far that you risk what you have for what you don't need. The Psychology of Money is not a book about stocks or funds or strategies. It is a book about who you are when money is involved, and who you decide to be right now, at 18, will determine almost everything that comes after.